Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. Let me start by saying a very happy new year to you and yours. I hope that this year 2022 all your dreams and all your desires will come to fruition in Jesus' name. I pray that this will be the very best year you've ever had. Thank you guys so much for doing 2021 with me. Thank you so much for doing half of 2020 with me. And thank you because we're going to do 2022 together to the very end in Jesus' name. Alright guys, so today's video I'm going to be doing another tutorial and I'm sure you guys can guess what the tutorial is about from the title and from what I'm wearing. However, before I get into introductions, I'm going to give you like a quick look at my cape or on my jacket, whatever you want to call. Now with this one I haven't put any fasteners, but I could put a fastener right here at the neck if I wanted to, or at the bit or at the waist. However, today I decided to style it with a belt that I own, so it's just a regular slimline belt that I own, and I'm just putting that belt on it just so you guys can see what the cape is like. So I'm moving back now so you guys can see, and this is what the cape is like. As you can see, it's very flattering around the shoulder. It just sits really nicely, and also when my hands are like out, it looks really nice. Also, I could have my hands in if I wanted it as a cape. However, if I wanted my hands through the right hole, I've got my hands through that armhole. I must say that with the belt it is a bit restrictive, so I'll say if you plan on wearing the belt, maybe increase the armhole a little bit. However, I could take off my belt if I wanted. Excuse the mess in my room guys, I have stuff everywhere and I can see my lip balm, like my lip gloss, just sticking out there, but whatever. So yeah, and if I want to take out my belt, this is how it looks like. Like I said, I could put a fastener just right here and have it there, or put a fastener right here at the top if I wanted to. I think at the top it looks really nice, but regardless, it is a very nice cape jacket as well. I'm tiptoeing because I'm short, and this is what it looks like when I'm on the tiptoe. It's really nice. I'm going to turn around so you guys can see what it looks like, and I'm going to tiptoe as well. This is what it looks like. I hope you guys can hear me because I broke my mic. I need to order a new one, but I've just literally not gotten around to it, but I will order a new mic. Anywho's guys, so that's it about my outfit. Hi guys, welcome and welcome back. So like I said, I was going to do a proper introduction, and this is the proper introduction. To all my OGs, to all my returning subscribers, welcome back. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much for holding down the fort. Thank you so much for checking up on me, and thank you guys for being here. I missed you lot so much, and I've been away from 6 weeks, so I'm going to do a different video explaining why I was away, and hopefully that can put things into perspective. I don't want to talk too much in this video because it's the intro to how to make a cape, right? So yes, to all the new people on here, welcome. My name is Ayotola, the creative director of So Unique by Adunni and the content creator of this channel, DIY with So Unique by Adunni, and this channel was created just for you. So if that's something that you're interested in learning about DIY stuff, craft stuff, and a little bit about my life, definitely consider subscribing. And all you need to do is hit the subscribe button right here on your screen, as well as the notification bell. I keep emphasizing that you want to hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on all the awesome content that I have for you. So please, if you haven't already, make sure you turn on the notification bell for all my posts, and you will definitely get notified by YouTube when I post something. I'm gonna try harder to be a bit more consistent this year. You guys know that I'm always consistent, but unfortunately towards the end of last year I couldn't, and I would explain in my other videos. So if you're interested in finding out what was going on with me, definitely check out the video that I'll put up next week or something. But like I said, in this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make the cape that I was wearing earlier, and if that's something that you're interested in, definitely keep watching. It promises to be another fun and detailed tutorial, and you guys know how we do it, right? You guys know how we do it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, don't forget to share, don't forget to leave your comment, suggestions and feedback in the comment section below. I will definitely respond to all comments. You guys know that I try, and I'll make sure to do that. It is a new year guys. I'm so excited about the new year. Let me know in the comment section what you're most excited about the new year as well. Alright guys, so thank you and enjoy the video. To start off, you'll need the following items. You'll need some pins, and I put mine on the pin cushion. You need your fabric scissors, your measuring tape, your tailor's chalk, You'll also need your fabric. I've got 6 yards of fabric here, but I'll be using only 3 yards for this, and I've got some lining as well. Because my fabric came in 6 yards, I went ahead to divide the fabric into 2 by taking away 3 yards, which I'm not going to be using. So like I said, I'll be using 3 yards. You want to go ahead and fold your fabric into 4 and then lay it on the table. As you can see, I have the folded edges next to me. So I folded into 4 so that I have 2 folded edges next to me. And on the opposite side, next to the pin cushion, I have 1 folded edge and 2 separated edges. Now that the fabric has been folded properly, we're going to go ahead and cut the neckline where my hand is pointing at right now. To draw in a neckline, we're going to start with something basic. You want to start with a neckline width of about 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 inches ideally, not more than that, and a neckline depth of 2 inches. So you want to make sure your neckline depth is 2 inches, which is what I'm marking vertically, and then horizontally you want to mark the neckline width, and I said 2.5 to 3 inches. As you can see, I went ahead to mark 2.5 first, but I found that wasn't enough, so I increased it to 3 inches. So I recommend doing 3 inches by 2 inches for the neckline. After marking the neckline, you can go ahead and connect the curve so that you have your neckline curve. Now remember that we're cutting out 2 180-degree circles. If you don't know how to cut out circles, go and watch my detailed tutorial on how to cut out circles. I thought in details how to cut out all kinds of circles, and it will be very helpful for this tutorial. So if you don't understand what I'm doing, please go ahead and watch that video. After drawing the neckline, go ahead and cut out the neckline area. After doing that, the next thing to do is to measure out how long you want your cape. Now, because I'm only using 3.5 yards, I basically couldn't have my cape any longer than what I have across my horizontal measurement that I just took. So basically I had about 23.5, which is the most I can have. If you want your cape longer, you will definitely be needing more fabric, or use a fabric with a longer length. I'll say use more fabric if you can. So I went ahead to measure 23.5 inches all around, starting from the arc that I cut around the apex. So you basically want to make sure that your measuring tape is kept around the arc and is moved all around as shown. Like I said, if you don't understand what I'm doing, go ahead and watch out the video that I put on how to cut a circle. It would help you. We're basically just cutting a regular circle like the same way we'll cut our skirt. However, instead of the waist, we're using a neckline, and instead of the skirt length, we're deciding what the cape length will be. That is the only difference. After marking the cape length, go ahead and cut out the cape length. So like I said, we'll just be cutting out a circle so that we have 2 semicircles or 2 180-degree circle. So I go ahead and cut out along my chalk lines, and when I get towards the end, as you can see, I just stop cutting because that's going to be where the arm is and it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So I separate the one folded piece, and then I go ahead to separate my pieces. Like I said many times, you should have 2 pieces that are 180 degrees by 180 degrees. Next, we'll need to create a shoulder slope so that we can have the feet around the shoulders really nice. As you saw when I was wearing my own, it fit nicely around the shoulders. To do that, you want to mark 1/2 inch around the neckline, and you want to do this around the top, right? And then you want to mark 2.5 inches at the opposite direction. So 1/2 inch around the neckline area, and then 2.5 inches at the apex or at the hem of the cape. After doing that, you want to connect these points with a ruler, which is what I've done, and then you want to go ahead and cut this off. Again, this helps it sit better around the shoulder. After doing that, I went ahead to mark out the wrong sides, and I went ahead to separate the pieces so that I have my front piece and my back piece. So we're going to start off with the back piece. You want to go ahead and place the back piece on the table and fold it into 2. Now, I have to say that this step is not necessary. I went ahead to lower the neckline by an extra half an inch, and to be honest, I feel like I would have been better off if I did not, so I don't advise that you do it. But if you want, I went ahead to lower the neckline. That's if you want your neckline to be wide, but remember that it's a cape and you don't need it too wide. So after doing that, you're literally done with the back piece. You want to go ahead and get the front piece and fold it into 2 equal parts. After doing this, you want to make sure that you lower the front neckline. This I highly recommend. So for the front neckline, I took it down by an extra 1.5 inches, which is what I've done. So I just lowered the front neckline, and then I went ahead to notch the part that goes to the shoulder. Now, the reason why I recommend that you notch the part that goes to the shoulder on both pieces is so that you don't get confused, because you'll be working with a lot of pieces. After notching or labeling all pieces properly, go ahead and cut the front piece into 2 along the center front. So remember the part that is on fold, you want to go ahead and slit it into 2 along that line. That will be the center front or the opening of the cape. Remember that the other side that you have will be joined to the shoulder. That is the part that we notched earlier, which is the shoulder slant. So you basically want to make sure that you can identify the differences. If it helps, lower label it, or if it helps, go ahead and use different kinds of notches. Next, you want to go ahead and mark the position for the arm slit, and to do that, what you want to do is you want to mark 1/3 of the front pieces. Now, if you remember that we had 180 degrees for the front piece, we went ahead to slit it into 2 along the center front. So starting from the center front, you want to mark 1/3 of that piece. So as you can see, what I did, I just measured randomly an area of the arc, and then I found 1/3 of that measurement, and I just marked with my chalk. So I've gone ahead to draw a line, and I have 1/3 roughly from the apex or from the neck area to the bottom. After I found 1/3 of it, I went ahead to cut it out. So as you can see, I divided my front piece again into 2. It's just that I have 1/3 on one side and 2/3 on the other side. I hope that's not confusing for you guys. Alright guys, so at this point we have about 5 pieces. You have 1 piece for the back, and then you have 4 pieces for the front. It's important not to confuse that. Go ahead and label all pieces appropriately by knowing which piece goes with which piece. You want to make sure that you're notching all the pieces appropriately. You know which piece is the arm slant or the shoulder slant area, which piece is the center front area, which piece has the arm slit, and you want to know which piece joins with which piece. After doing that, go ahead and cut out the lining. Because this cape will be fully lined, it's important that you cut out the lining so that it's the exact same as the fabric. If you need to pin, ensure you do that. And as you can see, I'm going ahead to cut out the lining for the back piece. Remember that the back piece is 180 degrees and it's half a circle. After cutting out the lining for the back piece, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the lining for the front piece. So again, I'm going to start with the bigger part of the front piece, which is the part that joins to the shoulder slant area. Like I said, you want to make sure that you notch it and you can recognize all the notches that you have placed on it so that you know which goes to which, because you don't want to mismatch your cape. Go ahead and cut out the lining for that piece, and then when you're done, go ahead and cut out the lining for the last piece, which comes towards the center front area. After cutting out the lining pieces, the next thing to do is to start sewing the pieces together. The first thing you want to do is you want to place the pieces on a flat surface so that you know which piece goes to which piece. After doing that, you want to go ahead and pin the right sides together. So for now, I'm starting with the arm slit area, and I'm going ahead to pick the 2 pieces that form that area and pin them together. After pinning them together, I'm going to go ahead and mark the sewing allowance of 1/2 inch. However, because this is the arm slit area, we will not be sewing all through. After pinning the pieces together, you want to go ahead and mark 10 inches starting from the neckline area, and then you want to go ahead and mark an extra 8 inches. So you first want to mark 10 inches from the neckline area, and then from that point where the 10 inches stops, you want to go ahead and mark another 8 inches. So what's going to happen is you're going to sew from the top to the 10 inches mark, and then you go ahead and sew from the 8 inches mark to the very end of the cape, leaving a gap of 8 inches unsewn. This is what I recommend. However, like I said, if you want yours a bit free, it's possible you can leave about 10 to 12 inches unsewn. So again, we're going to repeat this for the other side of the main fabric. You want to grab the pieces that match together around the arm slit, pin them together, and then go ahead and mark the sewing allowances. So from the neckline, you want to mark 10 inches, which will be sewn, and then leave 8 inches that will be unsewn, and then mark and sew the rest of whatever you have left in the length of the cape. Go ahead and repeat this for the lining as well, and then go ahead and sew. After sewing, this is what it looks like, and I'm showing you the lining piece. As you can see, you have the top sewn, and then you have a gap in the middle, and then you have it sewn. So I went ahead to iron all the pieces together, and this is what it looks like when placed on each other. So you have the nice opening or the nice gap there, and then you have the stitches. I went ahead to open the seam by sewing it while it was flat and making sure that it was well ironed. And then the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to close that opening so that it looks neat and tidy. To close the opening, it's a bit tricky, however it's not that difficult. You want to go ahead and place the lining piece on the main fabric piece so that the wrong sides or the sides with the seams are facing each other. When you do that, you're going to go ahead and pin starting from the neckline all the way to the hem. Upon pinning, you realize that it matches if it's done properly, if it has been cut well. Then you want to go ahead and sew. Now I have to mention that it's not important that you sew from the neckline exactly, but you should sew from above the 8 inches gap that you left. So you're sewing on the seam allowance, so it's going to be a bit tricky, which is why I inserted a clip of me sewing it. You are sewing the seam allowance of the lining to the seam allowance of the main fabric, and you want to make sure you start sewing from about 2 inches above the 8 inches gap of the arm slit to about 2 inches below the 8 inches gap of the arm slit. After sewing, this is what it looks like, and we're going to go ahead and do it on the other side. So again, you want to make sure that the wrong sides are facing each other. You want to grab the seams together, and then you want to go ahead and sew. Now if you notice, I started sewing from the neckline, but there's no point doing that because I ended up loosening it. So go ahead and pin from the neckline just to make sure it's in position, and then you can start sewing from about 2 inches above the slit area and 2 inches below. As you can see, this is what it looks like after. It's really neat, you know, everything looks nice and crisp. Ensure you repeat this on the other piece as well. The next thing to do is to close the center front area of the piece, and the center front area is the area closest to the slit. However, I just wanted to quickly show you what I was saying. As you can see, the hem or the bottom of the cape is opened and the top of the cape is opened. However, around the slit area is nice and neatly closed. So to close the center front area of the cape, it might be a bit confusing, but what you want to do is you want to observe what I'm doing clearly. So you want to make sure the cape is positioned on the right side, and then you want to place the front side of the fabric against the front side of the lining, and you want to make sure you're doing this around the center front. Now it will be a bit tricky, it will be a bit tight because you have the bunch on the inside, but that's how it should be. So you place the front sides or the right sides of both pieces of fabric against each other, and then you go ahead and sew it on 1/2 inch sewing allowance. After doing that, you go ahead and bring it out, and it should look like this. So at this point, the cape is coming together nicely. That was a bit tricky, but if you slow it down and watch it, you understand it. I went ahead to give it a good iron after doing that. Repeat the closing of the center front for both sides of the cape, and as you can see, this is what the center front of the cape looks like. It has an opening, and then you can see the 2 arm slits. At this point, the cape is almost finished, and the next thing to do is to join the back or the shoulder of the cape. Now in this case, because it's a cape, the back of the cape, is a 180-degree circle, and the only joining we'll have is around the shoulder slant. So again, like I said, notch your shoulder slant, and if you've notched it, you should know which one is your shoulder slant. Go ahead and join the back of the cape to the front of the cape along the shoulder slants, making sure the right sides of both fabric are facing each other. You want to pin your way from the neckline to the hem of the cape, and then go ahead and sew on 1/2 inch. You want to make sure you do this on both sides, and make sure your cape is not tangled while doing this. You also need to make sure that you repeat this on the lining as well. After joining the back of the cape to the front along the shoulder slants, this is what it looks like, and at this point it basically just looks like a mess. Like if you didn't know what I was sewing, you probably would be lost, but it looks like a mess, like a big old circle with a lining. So the next thing to do is to go ahead and lay it flat, and then we're going to go ahead and sort out the neckline and the base, and that will be it. But before we do that, I'm going to show you guys quickly what this cape looks like on me. Now it's important that I mention that when I was sewing the shoulder slant of the lining, I left a gap of about 3 inches unsewn. The purpose of this gap is to make sure that you have space to turn the cape inside out when you're done closing up the neck and closing up the hem area. We don't want any of the openings or any of the closings to be visible, which is why we've left about 3 inches unsewn along the shoulder slant of the lining. Alright guys, so this is just a clip of me trying on the cape. As you can see, at this point the cape was not finished. You can tell that the neckline had not been done and the hem had not been done, but I just wanted to show you guys what it was looking like. And at this point, obviously there was no fastener on it as well. To be fair, I didn't end up putting any fastener on it, but I was just showing you guys what it would look like quickly. Next, we need to sew the neck of the cape, and to sew the neckline of the cape, this is really easy. So you want to go ahead and turn the cape inside out, which is easy to do because we still have the hem open as well as the neckline open. So go ahead and turn the cape inside out, and then you want to locate the neckline of the cape. After locating the neckline of the cape, you want to make sure that you pin the lining to the fabric equally. You want to make sure that the right sides of the lining and the fabric are facing each other. You also want to make sure that all seams on the lining and the seams on the fabric are matching. After pinning the neckline all the way from the beginning to the end, you want to go ahead and sew on 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and then you want to go ahead and give it a good notch after sewing, just to allow for ease. After sewing the neckline, go ahead and turn the cape to the right side, making sure to push out all the corners around the neckline of the cape, especially the center front area. You would have some corners there, so you want to make sure to push it out or cut out all the bulk around there so that it's nice and sharp. After doing that, you can go ahead and iron the neckline just to make sure that it sits properly if you want. However, I recommend that you do iron the neckline. As you can see, I'm using my scissors to push out the corner of the neckline at this point. So the next thing to do will be for us to sort out the hem of the cape, and to do that I needed to iron the cape. So after ironing the cape, I went ahead to fold my cape into two so that I have my center front on one side and my center back on fold, and then I went ahead to pin around the neckline. The aim of doing this is so that I can give my cape a good trim so that the ends meet the lining and the fabric at the same length and there's no one part lies unequal. After trimming the hem of the cape, I went ahead to take out all the pins that I had put there, and then I went ahead to turn my cape inside out. Remember that we have the opening on the lining for us to turn the cape back to the right side when we are done, because at this point we would have closed all the entrances or all the exits in the cape. So the only way we have is the 3 inches gap that we left in the lining unsewn. So the same way we did the neckline, we're going to be doing that for the hem of the cape. However, you do know that it's going to be really wide because it is a circle. So you want to go ahead and start pinning, making sure you pin either from the center of the hem of the cape or from the side or from any part you want to pin. You want to make sure you pin so that the right sides of the fabric and the right sides of the lining are facing each other. You want to make sure that all the seams are matching, and then you want to make sure that you pin from one side of the end of the cape to the other side of the end of the cape. After pinning, you want to make sure that you mark out the sewing allowance of 1/2 inch, and then you go ahead and sew the cape together on the 1/2 inch sewing allowance. After sewing the hem of the cape, go ahead and turn the cape to the right side through the 3 inches gap that we left in the lining. So you remember that when we were sewing the shoulder slant of the lining, I said to leave a gap of about 3 inches unsewn. So you want to use that gap as an entrance or as an exit so that you can turn the cape to the right side. After doing that, you want to sew that gap close, which is what I've just done, and then go ahead and give your cape a good ironing. At this point, this is what the cape looks like. It's nicely and neatly finished. It's finished at the hem, it's finished at the top, it's all neat on the inside, it's not rough, it looks really nice. And this is where I'm wearing it, as you can see at the end. And obviously you can tell that I was watching Suits while also doing my sewing. Alright guys, so we've officially come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me to the very end. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was worth your while. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and make sure you share this video to your friends and loved ones. As you can see, I have the shoulder slant as well as the arm slit joining right there. So if you want, go ahead and put a fastener on your cape, and if you don't want to, you can rock it with a belt, or just leave it and wear it as it is. You can make this out of ashoke or any other fabric and it will just look as nice. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy New Year once again. Have a fabulous 2022.